Hey guys, Sneaky Snake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships, and today's video we're going to take a look at the Tier 8 French heavy cruiser, the Charles Martel. So this thing at Tier 8 is a pretty awesome ship, and I gotta say, while it doesn't offer you anything unique when compared to your other French heavy cruisers, this thing is the king at that mid to long range support role where you're spamming HE and utilizing your incredible speed to help out your team, flex across the map, and what have you. So we're going to first take a look here at the statistics of the ship. Survivability-wise, you have 38,000 hit points. You have 100 millimeters of Citadel armor on the belt and 140 millimeters on the turret face. So you could compare this thing to the Chapayev. The Chapayev has 1,000 less hit points and has the same amount of belt armor. So what this means is you're still going to eat some pretty big AP salvos even when you're perfectly angled, but it does have enough on the side to bounce pretty consistently anyway, 15-inch guns and below if you're able to bait them into shooting you. Taking a look here at the bread and butter of the French cruisers, it's of course the 203mm main guns. You have a 3x3 arrangement, 2 turrets at the front, 1 in the rear, and a total of 9 of these guns. So you gain 1 gun over the Algerie at Tier 7, and you lose 1 turret, so it's a nice setup. They of course have very good characteristics, 876 meters a second HE shell velocity, a 19% fire chance with my build, 4,900 AP, and 2,800 HE shell damage, and then of course 17.6 kilometers with the firing range, so it's very nice stuff. The torpedoes on the ship are okay. You get 2 triple launchers, 1 on each side of the boat, 9-kilometer range, 60 knots top speed, 14,800 on the maximum roll. These are the same torpedoes that you have on the Algerie, and if I'm not mistaken, the same ones that you'll have on the Saint Louis and the Henri IV at tiers 9 and 10 respectively. The AA on the Charles Martel is okay. You get a quartet of 20, 37, 40, and 100mm AA guns. They don't have the best DPS, and yeah, that's really all you can say about it. You're not going to confuse this thing with the New Orleans or Mikhail Kutuzov AA-wise, and honestly, I'd compare it to the Japanese AA-wise in terms of its overall potency. I do run anti-aircraft guns mod 2 for my equipment, but you're not really going to be shooting down very many planes unless you go with a full AA build, and even then, it's not the best in the world. Maneuverability-wise, 34.1 knots of top speed is very nice. That is with the speed flags included. 690-meter turning circle, which is okay, and a rudder shift time of 7.9 seconds, which is also okay as well. I do run the rudder equipment module to get that down as well, but it still will feel a little bit sluggish, especially when you're using your speed boost. And lastly, the concealment, 10.5 kilometers by the sea and 6.5 by the air. It's actually not that bad when you compare it to some of the other contemporaries at Tier 8. The first one we're going to compare it to is the Chapayev, 10.2 for the sea and 6.4 for the air. So it's very comparable to that Tier 8 Soviet light cruiser. And then, of course, one of the best at Tier 8, the Atago, 9.1 kilometers. However, its detection range by the air is, for some reason, 6.9. So it's okay concealment what you have on the Charles Martel. It's not bad. The only thing that you're really going to struggle with are American and Japanese and potentially English light cruisers if they catch you off guard, but at the end of the day, it's still okay. Taking a look at the upgrades, main armaments mod 1 for the first one, an absolute must. For the second one, AA guns mod 2. Get that AA range out a little bit further. It's okay. Aiming systems mod 1 is potentially a better idea if you really want to go full gunboat, but I've been trying to stray away from that. Steering gears mod 1, very, very important to take. You'll see why in the replay. It's very annoying how often the rudder gets knocked out on this thing. Steering gears mod 2 to get the rudder shift down from bad to, manageable. And then, of course, concealment systems mod 1 to get the pretty decent concealment. Taking a look at the consumables, defensive fire AA for the first one. Obviously a pretty important thing to run, considering this ship does not have the best AA without a full AA build. Catapult fighter as well to, give it a little bit more of a boost. But of course, the last part, the last consumable, which is the most important, is the speed boost, a 20% increase to your ship's maximum speed. This thing allows you, in combination with the speed flags, to get over 40 knots in a straight line, which is extremely quick. You can run down low health destroyers, you can disengage from, combat areas that are not favorable to you. It's very important to utilize, and then of course it's also active for 180 seconds, 3 minutes. And if you do have the equipment that gets the speed boost activated for even longer, that'll go up to almost 4. For the upgrade path, absolutely get the Charles Martel B hull first. You can see the A hull. You only have 30,800 hit points, which is absolutely pathetic for Tier 8. A double citadel and change will pretty much delete you from the map outright if you have the A hull. So get the hull first, then get the firing range, and then lastly get the guns. It'll give you that extra 2 seconds on the reload, which is nice, and it'll also buff your AP shell damage by 100 points as well, and also increase the rotation of your turrets as well, so it's very nice. And lastly here, taking a look at the captain skills. Priority target, absolute must for a cruiser. Tell you how many dudes are looking at you. For the second one, expert marksman. French cruisers have pretty good turret traverse regardless, but it's always nice to buff that anyway. For the third one, superintendent, get the extra defensive AA, fighter plane, and of course the speed boost, really important. And then for your 10 points, get concealment expert, so you can get the OK concealment range. Other captain skills that I recommend, demolition expert, get that really nice fire chance of 19% with that and the flags. Adrenaline rush is also a good pick on any ship for that matter, especially so with these ones. Direction center for catapult fighter if you don't feel like running vigilance because it is still rather sluggish. Do not run torpedo armament expertise. I meant to put my cursor over vigilance if the torpedoes do bother you. And then of course you can also go with AFT to get a decent AA platform. It's not going to be confused again with, you know, the really good AA ships at tier 8, but it will certainly get the job done. So, with the Charles Martel, you get a mid to long range HE spammer that has incredible top speed, pretty good gun performance, OK survivability, OK AA, and OK concealment and maneuverability. So with that being said, we're now going to take a look at the gameplay and see how she does in some combat. Alrighty guys, we're now going to get stuck here into the gameplay. I am divisioned up with my friend Elastic Spider. He's playing in the Z-23, the tier 8 German destroyer, and we're playing some standard battle here on the map Neighbors. So like I said in the port, this thing is the king, in my opinion, of the mid to long range HE spam. You have more range than your Japanese contemporaries, so it allows you to reach out further. And while you don't have as fast of a rate of fire as something like a Chapayev or a Mikhail Kutuzov, what you do get is the 203mm main guns, and specifically the ability to do more alpha damage. And it also gives you the ability to use your armor piercing at range and deal more damage as well. And to be honest with you, throughout my World of Warships playing career, I gotta say that I've always enjoyed 203mm main guns more so than 152s, 150s, 155s, and the reason being is because you can utilize the armor piercing shells at much longer ranges and have a much higher chance of getting a citadel at longer ranges too. Now, while this game is not going to feature too much of the armor piercing from the Charles Martel, just be aware that it can citadel up to and including its maximum range against equal tier and lower cruisers. Really the only ones that it's going to have trouble with are the German designs because they have the turtleback armor scheme, but if you catch a Japanese heavy cruiser, an American, especially a British, you're going to be able to get plenty of citadels with the AP. So you can see here that I'm moving up towards a little bit in between the Bravo and the Charlie Cap, where they would be anyway if we were playing domination. Now, I'm not necessarily a fan of standard battle, but if there is one heavy cruiser or one cruiser line in particular that, well, I think does a little better in standard battle, it is the French, because since you have such nice speed, you can get to where you need to go on the map in a hurry. And since the gameplay in standard is even more passive, it's really not that difficult to put yourself where the enemy team is going to be, because most likely they're going to all be bunched up, and then at that point you're going to really be able to screw with them by using your speed and your just ability to evade shells, and likewise being able to hit them at range with your high explosive shells and rack up some really nice damaging totals. Now, this game you're going to see here isn't going to be the most ridiculous game damage-wise, but it's going to show you why this thing is an absolute terror if you leave it alone. I use my decent concealment to get up into a more advanced position, and as I come out around the island corner here, I'm going to be able to get a nice broadside into this unsuspecting Mahan, the Tier 7 American destroyer. RNG is fantastic. The shells fall in, and I do almost 4,000 damage, and I set fire, #1 in the game. And I'm looking for another follow-on shot right here. I, of course, have activated my speed boost, so I am almost at 40 knots, which is pretty crazy. And if Japanese heavy cruisers are good at evading shells because of their rudder shift, these are good at evading shells simply due to the top line speed. If you angle away at about 30, 40 degrees or so, it's very, very difficult to really guess how far ahead that you have to aim. And quite frankly, if you're aiming, if you think you're aiming far enough ahead against a French heavy cruiser, well, you're probably not. So exaggerate the heck out of it when you're trying to shoot at these guys, because you'll notice throughout the gameplay you'll hear plenty of splashes where shells will be falling just short of me. and the ships that are shooting at me, you know, probably were very frustrated where they were thinking that they'd be able to get a nice salvo in, and I was able to, I guess, outrun the shells. So I got some really nice salvos downrange at the New Orleans, forced him away, and now as I'm undetected, I'm going to get some more shots here at the Alabama. I thought those shells, probably from the North Cal, were at me. They do hit Spider. Salvo falls in on the Alabama, 5,500 damage with the HE, and only 6 shell hits, all of them penetrations, however. And you can see right there, that's something that a Chapayev or a Mikhail Kutuzov would just simply struggle to do. You can also see I've already had 3 fires thus far, as my next salvo falls in on the Bismarck, and I get another very nice salvo, 4,600 damage right there. And I'm already up to 26,000 hit points as I've had multiple battleships on fire. And the next salvo on the North Carolina manages to get a fire as well. Some crazy RNG that I've been having right here. But anyway, you know, I've been able to land the shells on target as the next salvo falls in, and yet another fire. That 19% fire chance coming in handy, coming in clutch right there. I'm already up to 6 fires set with only 44 shells that have hit, a pretty crazy ratio. And you can see that the damage counter continues to tick at 34,000. I'm now looking for a nice shot here on the Alabama. He used his damage con some time ago. So if I get some more fires on that guy, he will continue to burn. The shells falling on the target, and a double fire. Already up to 8 fires thus far. However, right here is one teaching point. That enemy New Orleans is going to pop up on the minimap any second. There we go. The New Orleans can get a sub 10 kilometer detection range. I wasn't paying attention. Luckily for me, even though I was full broadside, I did not take any citadels from that guy. So American heavy cruisers can counter you pretty hard if you do stray in a little bit too close for comfort. However, you can see here I am now once more speeding back up. The Alabama continues to burn. I also hit the Bismarck with a few shells as well. Set fire number 9 on that guy. And now I am shooting here at the New Orleans. And you can see I sped up so fast from that Alabama salvo that those shells landed so far behind me. However, you can see that the New Orleans did go undetected, and he can start that engagement whenever he feels like. So again, be very, very careful when dealing with the New Orleans, especially considering that it now had its rate of fire buffed pretty significantly. I don't remember when the patch was, but just assume that they're going to have the rate of fire. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the port, these things do not take ass shots very well. Yeah. Don't know if that was a Citadel. It certainly felt like it when I was playing at the time, and all of a sudden I'm down to less than half health. So even when you do angle away, it still is very Chapayev-like. You will eat random large salvos through the butt. Very unlucky for me right there. I only took 1 shell, and it did that much damage. But at the end of the day, it's something that you do have to take into consideration when you're playing this thing. Now you can see there as I get fire number 10 on that enemy battleship, I'm now shooting at the enemy New Orleans, trying to get the heck out of dodge here, and just cutting away from this guy. There's, again, no reason for me to close the distance to that guy, unless it's like a late game scenario and he's on very low hit points. You can see the Bismarck continues to burn. I set fire number 11 on the New Orleans, and now I am focusing my attention once more back on the Bismarck. However, he is going to eat some torpedoes here. A very nice drop. It might have been the Farragut, it might have been my buddy Spider, not 100% sure. I set fire number 12 on that guy, and then the Nagatos fires managed to take care of that guy. Looking for some more shots here on the enemy New Orleans. 85,000 hit points. I took 2,700 right there, so down to 14,000. I do have to be careful. One really good placement of a battleship salvo will be able to take care of me. However, I'm continuing to use my speed boost to try to get close to that island that's in front of me. I want to try to get a little bit closer to it and then start to turn away. However, this is one thing about the steering gears that you need to know. The shells from the New Orleans hit me right in the rear, knock out my steering gears. At the high tiers, you cannot afford to have your rudder out of commission. As I land fire number 13 on the New Orleans, so I immediately had to use my damage control on that, and now I'm continuing to try to run away from this guy. Very luckily for me, the shells do hit me once more in the rear section of the ship, but I do not take another crippling hit on the steering gears. More shells falling in on the New Orleans. There we go. I get fire number 14 on that guy. He's got 2 fires burning. He will be guaranteed dead. He will not be able to get his repair back in time, and I'm almost close to breaching the 100,000 damaging mark here. Now you're going to see here a very Flamo-esque thing to do. I use my torpedoes to see which way the Queen Elizabeth is moving. He is starting to speed up, so based off of that, I can judge where I need to aim my salvo. The shells fall in on the target, and right here we get fire number 15 with a decent salvo. Now, one other reason, oh, there we go, the New Orleans burns down as well, picking up my first kill of the game. Anyway, another reason why I like the 203s is because, again, you just deal more damage to battleships at range, and specifically when they hit the superstructure, they're way less likely to break, not be able to penetrate the armor, or do anything of that sort. And it's just really nice to be able to deal really good amounts of alpha damage. Even if only 1 or 2 shells hit, you're still going to be able to do 1 to 2k, pretty much guaranteed. Obviously, that last salvo is not indicative of that, as I mentioned it, of course. And now we're getting ready to shoot here at the Nelson. More shells that were looped over the island do hit the Queen Elizabeth. I'm up to 109,000 points of damage. And the Nelson is certainly a ship that takes massive amounts of damage from this thing, because it doesn't have the 32 millimeters at the bow or the stern of the ship, and also its deck armor isn't the best as well. You can see here also my defensive AA is shooting down some planes that are off to my starboard side. Once more, the Charles Martel's AA isn't the best, but if you use defensive AA, it's not that bad. As I shoot down plane number 4 and then plane number 5. Now, I am detected right here. What I'm trying to do here is, once again, get close to the island. You can see that the Z-23 is spotting me due to my gun bloom. And I also want to try to get out of the way from the Otago's shells that could be coming in, and also from the Nelson and the Hipper up to the north as well. So that's why I put myself in this position. Unfortunately, though, this Otago shot is going to be pretty decent. You can see that he was able to loop at least 4 of his guns around or on top of the island. I do take a pretty decent hit of 3,200, but in due course, I manage almost 5k back on him and set him on fire for fire number 17 in the game. Obviously, RNG has been very nice to me. And you can also see there that the island was able to shield me right there from those shells from the Nelson. He was not able to loop them over. Right as I shoot, unfortunately, the Mahan, appears at 7.5 kilometers. So the shells fly in on that Tier 7 premium British battleship, get a few hits. Now I switch my focus here to the Mahan. More shells flying in. I get a double fire. Fires number 18 and 19. He immediately uses his damage control. I'm going to obviously continue to shoot at this Mahan, try to get him on fire again, knock out some modules, some steering gears, all that good stuff. I also put up my fighter aircraft as well to potentially spot torpedoes if he did launch them. More shells flying in on the Mahan. There we go, and knock out his steering, do almost 2,000 points of damage to that guy. I do go undetected once again because the Mahan is the only enemy ship at the moment that has line of sight on me. So I'm going to continue to shoot at this guy stealthed up. There are some enemy aircraft in the area, but again, due to the fact that the Charles Martel has the very nice air detectability, they are not spotting me at the moment. So I'm up to 135,000 points of damage with 1 ship destroyed thus far in the game. I'm now looking for a very long-range shot as I do hit the Mahan again. A nice blind shot right there, if I do say so myself. Throw a very long-range shove out at the enemy Otago to see if I can potentially land something. He was driving in a straight line. Doesn't appear that that is the case. The Nelson gets spotted again, and right as he shoots, I shoot right back at him, 13 kilometers away. He did use his damage control some time ago, so now I'm looking for fire number 20 as the shells fall in, and there we go, fire number 20 indeed. My speed boost does come back, so now I'm going to turn away from this guy, activate it, and run away while continuing to pepper him with the high explosive. And you can see there, 5,500 damage, something that a Chappie would not be able to do in this situation. I also pick up the Witherer as well, very nice stuff right there, almost 2k on the follow-up salvo. The damage counter is ticking up to almost 150,000 points of damage. The Nelson uses his damage control once more, so now I'm going to obviously continue to shoot at this guy. And if you've also noticed with the amount of damage that I've taken over the course of the game, my reload is down to 8.2 seconds, which is honestly very quick for 203mm guns at Tier 8. More shells fall in, 8 penetrations, and another fire set, number 21, on the Nelson as I pick up the high caliber for the game as well. And now I'm switching my attention here to the Admiral Hipper. He has 40,000 hit points, and I do need to be very careful, but a very nice torpedo salvo by Elastic Spider going in there, chunking down the Queen Elizabeth very hard, and forcing the Admiral Hipper as I set fire number 22 to turn to his starboard side to get out of the way. I do shoot 1 salvo of AP as I also dodge the incoming Queen Elizabeth salvo right there. I pick up Confederate as well for my 3rd medal of the game, and now I'm going to swing my rear turret into play to try to take out that guy. The rear turret sends the 3 shells down range. Will I be able to take care of the kill? Put him on 326 hit points as the fire manages to take care of kill number 2 for me. And now I have my sights set here on the Admiral Hipster, a Tier 8 German heavy cruiser. Once again, another shell hits me at the rear part of the ship, so unfortunately, rudder gets knocked out again, and again, I had to use my damage control immediately. You cannot afford in this thing to leave your rudder just chilling, knocked out like that. It's going to make it very easy for you to get killed. I've set my 24th fire on that Admiral Hipper a couple salvos ago. I'm now looking for the killing blow right here on this guy. You can see he only has 12,000 hit points left, 13,000, excuse me. Elastic Spider manages to take care of the Mahan, and then the North Cow takes care of the Otago. So now I'm going off to try and farm some damage on the enemy aircraft carrier. Unfortunately, 5 penetrations, only doing 1,800 damage, so I will not be able to secure the kill on the Admiral Hipper, but that is a-okay. And you can see that there are some enemy dive bombers coming in, so I have my defensive fire ready to go. They're 4 kilometers away, and now I pop it, and before they're able to get to the friendly Nagato, all of those planes are going to get shot down for planes 6, 7, and 8. And now I'm looking here for the killing blows on the enemy Hiryu Tier 7 Japanese aircraft carrier. 5,000 damage right there, almost at 200,000 points of damage dealt thus far in the game. More shells fly in, and as I'm getting ready to shoot my next salvo, some NorCal shells are going to come in, take care of the kill, and that's the end of the battle. Alrighty guys, taking a look now at the post-battle results. 486,000 credits received and 11,600 total EXP earned. This was my first win of the day. I picked up Confederate, Witherer, and High Caliber, dealing 198,000 points of damage with 224 shell hits that caused 24 fires. Obviously, RNG was very nice to me, but that is what these French heavy cruisers excel at. I also snagged 8 planes that were shot down and sunk 2 enemy vessels. Taking a look at the team score, 2,550 base EXP. Very solid performance in these French ships. My buddy Spider coming in 3rd place with 1 kill of his own and 1512 base EXP. And now the most important part, the detailed report. 116,000 damage dealt alone with the high explosive. Very nice numbers right there. I also managed to deal 76,490 fire damage and only 5,700 with the AP. But again, the AP is very viable, and because you do have that competitive reload, you should take advantage of it when you do catch enemy cruisers off guard. I also managed to have 1.151 million potential damage, so a decent amount right there as well, and a further 38,000 damage dealt upon my spotting. So I was out there using my speed boost, keeping ships lit up, having them shoot at me, and in due course, my friendlies were able to take care of business. So yeah, that was a really good game, and pretty much everything you need to know about the Charles Martel summed up in one World of Warships replay. So with that being said, the Sneaky Snake here for Brothers in Arms, World of Warships signing off. Please consider giving the video a like, commenting on it, or possibly subscribing to the channel if you haven't already done so. All of it is very much appreciated. And with that being said, have a fantastic day, folks.